Hi everybody, it's Mr. Gray here. Thank you again for another great week. Thank you for coming to back to school night last night. It was great to see you and for us to all be together and get to talk about the school year. It's never long enough, but I'm glad we got some time together and we could stay inside in the air conditioning. It's going to be hot again next week, not quite as hot, but just keep that in mind. There'll be like a little bit of reduction in PE and outside time if it's really hot like it was at the end of last week. So a few things this week. Our first Fancy Friday is coming up next Friday. Remember, it's just an optional for fun thing. When we have done things like this in the past, oftentimes kids come home and they say like, I don't really want to do it. And then they're worried about being the weird one by dressing up. And sometimes they are the one left out because they didn't dress up. So even if you just go a little bit, dip your toe in, be a little bit fancy with your dress, it'll be really fun. And we'll tell our buddies to do the same thing, to get dressed up on that day, and that'll be really fun. As I mentioned at Back to School Night, we're going to have a day where we can all go and enjoy the book, The Wild Robot, that we've all read together now. We're inviting the 6th grade APA students too. And so that'll be on Saturday, September 28th. I'll try to get the time as soon as possible to you, probably in the early afternoon is what I'm guessing, and I might schedule 2 movie times depending on how big the theaters are, but just look out for that. And if you can't keep that time open, we'd love to hang out with you and enjoy The Wild Robot at that time. As far as academics go next week, we're going to start off the week by taking the last of the 4 district tests. The students took Star Math and Star Reading. They also take a School City, which is the platform that they use to take some online tests. They take one for reading and writing put together, and also math. So the last one we have to take is that reading and writing, ELA, English Language Arts. And that will be our last beginning of the year test. Then we're going to start our first novel study. It's called Home of the Brave. It is a fantastic book. Throughout the week, we'll talk about the main character and specifically how he acts different on the inside than on the outside. You can imagine that applies to lots of characters in lots of books. We'll also talk about shadows, things that he are attached to him that he carries with him and can't get rid of. And also we'll do a little bit of work with idioms. I'm hoping The Wild Robot is finished, but if not, we'll finish it up next week and we'll look forward to the movie. In writing, the kids will start our first official writing unit, which is in the genre of narrative. The kids are writing true stories based on a small moment. We're not writing, I got in the car and I tell you about my whole day and then what happened that night. I'm telling you about a specific small moment. I was standing on the top of the diving board and I was terrified to go off. And that small moment will take up the whole narrative story that they are writing. We're going to start the week by trying to generate powerful ideas for a personal narrative. And then they're going to actually start drafting, and they're going to start really trying to climb into the story. I'm going to tell that story as if I was there right then. I'm not telling you about it now. I'm telling you I'm in the story right now and telling you and noticing all the small details. And then we're also going to set some goals for ourselves as writers. In math next week, every year Apple comes out with new iPhones about this time, and Monday is supposedly the day that new iPhones are coming out. So I'm going to take in that information, and for the rest of the week, the kids are going to have to do a project having to do with new iPhones. You will hear about that. You, the parents, are going to play a small part in that project and give some feedback to them. But that'll be a really fun project. The kids often remember that one for the whole year. In social studies, we'll wrap up our study of pre-Columbus Native American tribes. And specifically, we'll talk about how the government and economies were set up of the Native American tribes before the Europeans arrived. And then by next week, we'll also kind of get into a study guide and something resembling a test for this first little chapter that we've been studying before we get ready for our big project, which will come the week after. The kids will go to Science Lab with Mr. Marco. We'll start a little bit of science in our class. It's really just an intro lesson. We're going to continue our study of commas and grammar. We'll meet with our buddies. We'll start our All Apps project, and we'll continue some discussions with digital citizenship. Again, thank you so much for coming to Back to School Night. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.